Hey, welcome to the shop. Today we're going to compare the new xTool MetalFab fiber laser system with more traditional tools, a CNC plasma table and a TIG welder. Now, if you aren't familiar with the MetalFab or you're wondering about its capabilities, what it can and can't do, check out the video I just released where I have 35 minutes of back-to-back welding and cutting tests to really put the system through its paces, and you get a pretty good idea of what it's useful for and what it's not. Let's get started on this project. So for a demo project, let's make a grinder rack that can hold a standard 4.5-inch angle grinder as well as some additional flap discs here to keep them on hand, and also the spanner wrench. So I've designed this out of 12 gauge mild steel, and we'll export all of these DXFs to cut out with each of the different systems. Let's cut out the first set on the CNC plasma table. Now, I've been at this a long time and my table is dialed in. I've put in brand new Hypertherm brand fine cut consumables because I want to put my best foot forward with both of the processes. This is my third plasma table. I built my first one from scratch 10 years ago, and then I had a bigger one, and then I bought this smaller one, which I really like them and they're fun. But there's a lot of details that people don't talk about when you're first thinking about getting into this, like how you have to jog to the corner to find your workpiece and set that up manually in the CAM software, or how the software to program it is different from the software you design in, which is different from the software that runs it, or how you have to actually create your own profiles with all of these settings, and you have to get into the G code to troubleshoot things if the software that you programmed in doesn't talk to the machine control software. So it can be a lot. And my point in saying this is just to point out that it's not a plug and play system, because a different person makes the software to program, then makes the software to run the machine, then makes the machine, then makes the plasma cutter. And so it's up to you as the user to make all those things work together. It is a lot of fun and it's really cool once they get going, but there's a lot that you have to do. And the reason I bring this up is because the MetalFab has the software and hardware, including the cutter, all made by the same people. And so that has a lot of advantages to it. Now let's take a look at the xTool MetalFab. So when you put your material in here, there's slats that you can move around. It's a 2-foot by 2-foot bed, and these clamps can hold the ends down so nothing moves around on you. There are also slots in the sides so you can run longer lengths of material and cut it in multiple runs. It has an internal blower for the fumes, and I just ran the hose that was included right out the garage door. That works fine for now. I'll probably improve that. And I'm cutting with oxygen today, as they recommend for mild steel, but I also have their air compressor set up that has an air dryer and works well on other materials. You can see a ton of cuts with both of those in my other video. Here in the software, it has an actual camera. Actually, there's 2 cameras that show your material. One that gives a broad overview and one that zooms in for detail, which is a really nice feature. Now, every time I import one of these vector files, I have an extra step I need to do. Let me explain. I'll start off by saying I think they've done a really nice job with the software, and it's a lot easier to learn than the typical CNC workflow, but there's one big trap that I think they need to improve. By default, it cuts with the laser centered right on the line that you drew, and the kerf is pretty narrow, so that's close enough for a lot of the artsy kind of stuff that they've done in the past. But now that they're in the MetalFab, there's going to be more mechanical parts, and they have an option to put in an offset to cover your kerf. So if you cut on this green line, you'll get a part that's the size that you drew, which is usually what you want. However, if you import a drawing with internal and external features like this, and then put the kerf offset to the outside, it'll offset out on the outside, which will make it true to size, but it'll offset on the outside of the internal feature, which will make it much larger than it's supposed to be and not what you'd want. So you have to manually convert it to a compound curve in the software so that it offsets on the outside and on the inside. And if you go through that step and that button click, then it works well. But I think that's kind of a trap and something that should be improved now that they're going to be dealing in more mechanical parts. A few things that are really nice in the software. One, you can just draw stuff right in here. If you're making signage, if you're making, simple shapes, you don't need any external CAD. You can draw in here, it programs itself, and it also runs the machine all at once. So that's really, really nice. A much better workflow, all built to work together by the same people. Now I tried their automatic nesting here and I didn't think that it made sense, so I'm just manually placing my parts. I'm not sure if there's something different I need to do to get that auto nest to work better, or if it's just, that's the result you get. Now you can select between a huge library of materials and the settings are already built in here and they're dialed in just for this machine, which is nice. And you can create your own settings built off of that. So if you modify it, you can save it with its own name, with your own kerf compensation and those sorts of things, which is what I've done here with that 12 gauge mild steel setting, and it's ready to run. So it took me just a couple of tests to measure and figure out the kerf offset. Other than that, I left it completely set with their mild steel setting, and we're ready to go. When you click the process button, it shows you all of the things that you need to know about gas flow and the nozzle to use, and it also shows you where to adjust the focus height of the nozzle, which has this cool little micrometer on it. So it's a great setup. You don't have to think about G-code or anything else. It just handles it all for you. Very, very simple, much easier to learn in my opinion, because you can draw and it programs for you and will run the machine. It has the settings. You don't need to know or deal with really any of that. Really, really nice. Now here on the cut, the overall cut time for this was 2 minutes 14 seconds, and it was 2 minutes 40 seconds on the plasma table. But the moves on the plasma table, I'm pretty sure I could true up and make a little bit more efficient so that you could match the time. So there wasn't a huge time difference. Now the motion is really smooth, and because it doesn't arc to the edge, a laser is going to give you more true sharp corners and things in the detailed features. So that's one thing that we'll take a look at when we get them all cut. We can just compare some of the differences. Now, the way that I have these placed and nested, I could definitely have them a lot closer together than I did to be a little more efficient with the material. You can see where I used this array, it ran right up next to one another. But the cutting is straightforward, and there's not a lot that I have to think about as a user to be able to do it, which is really nice. Now I did try some mild steel with compressed air in my other video, and it also worked, but it left some dross, and with oxygen you can also get a bit thicker. Now let me show you why I'm so excited about the camera system here, because after I've made a cut, I can just rearrange my parts, and I'm actually going to try their auto nest feature again, and this time it did a pretty good job at avoiding all of the cutout pieces and just putting parts in a reasonable arrangement. Now I'm going to just rearrange and slide this one up here. I won't actually cut them out, but you can see how difficult that would be on that plasma table to figure out where to put the parts to work around some pieces that were already cut, where here with that image, it's just really easy. Next, I'll compare the parts that came off of the plasma table with the parts that came off of the laser cutter. Let's take a look at the cut quality on the plasma cut parts. So here, if you look at the edge, it's really quite good. This is with, fine cut hypertherm consumables. You do have a little bit of dross, still extremely usable parts. Now, if you check the dimensions here, again, I have this dialed in pretty good. So this is 4/1000 of an inch, so about the diameter of a hair narrow on the slots. Take a look at this. This is oversized by about 7/1000 of an inch, but still really quite good. Just need to do a little bit of cleanup on that dross. Now let's look at the detail on the logo here. So I omitted the lettering there that would have been too small, but you can see when you go and try to do that fine detail, it does open up a little bit. It's very difficult to get these small fine details. Here's the laser cut. Instead, you can see how much better fidelity you have, the corners are sharper, and everything is a lot more clean. If you look at the back side of the plasma cut for the logo, you can see just how much dross there is because you aren't able to maintain cut speed. You don't have that issue as much with the laser.
because it's just shooting that light straight through and you don't have the arc over to the material. So it came out a lot cleaner. Now the edge quality on laser is a little bit better too. There's basically no dross on this as you'd expect. And this is the oxygen cutting on steel. And I found in that video that I released not too long ago where I did 35 minutes of just back-to-back testing on welding and cutting, that the cut quality you get on aluminum and stainless steel is just incredible. But for the oxygen cuts here on steel, also really good. You can see those crisper corners on the slots. So definitely, an improvement in quality there. Now the slots I was shooting for 114 thousandths, which is 10 thou over the thickness. And so I'm 3 thousandths oversized there. And here I am stock off by about 5 thousandths between the two sides. And remember, that's two sides, so that's only about 2.5 thousandths off per side. So I think my kerf width compensation is pretty good.
Let's jump back over to that first set of plates that I plasma cut and TIG weld them together. Now before I start welding this up, and I'm going to prep both sets, but this is the plasma cut set, and I'm just hitting it with one of these strip discs to knock off any kind of scale or light surface rust on it before I get started with the actual welding, and then I'll hit it with a quick acetone wipe. Now because the plasma cutter leaves a little bit of a corner radius, I always have to tap these in whenever I plasma cut these tab and slots. And then I'm going to tack weld both sides because there's so much heat going in with a TIG weld that I don't want to overheat my little magnet fixture. So I'll just throw a tack on each side. And each of these steps takes a bit of time. With the laser, I just zipped right across it. I'll show you that in a minute. Now this particular project could be MIG welded or TIG welded together or laser, obviously, as we're going to do in a minute. But I chose TIG welding because I think from a point of comparison, there are more TIG welding projects that I would replace with the laser than there are MIG welding projects. And so I think it's good to consider that. And one thing you got to think about, even with MIG welding, there's a fair learning curve, right? You're not going to get great beads right out of the gate or probably even on day one. And with TIG welding, it's a really long learning curve. It took me a long time to be able to run just a regular consistent bead whenever I needed to. I messed this one up because I actually installed that bottom piece backwards. That tab is supposed to come out of the front to hold the wrench. And so, yeah, this is all scrap, except I'm just going to roll with it and put it through backwards. Now, if I were to design this again, I would make those slots different sizes so that it couldn't install backwards, poka-yoke it, so to say. But here we are, so we'll just roll with it. Now I'm going to undo my mistake here and cut that tab off the back, and I just won't have one on the front on this. But overall, the project turned out really good and definitely works with those old school techniques. With any welding process, you're really just melting the metal on both sides, and that source of heat could be a variety of things, an electrical arc, a flame, and in this case, a laser. But metallurgically, you're really doing the same thing, and you're adding filler metal to it in the same way. Now here, I'm penetrating all the way through, full penetration joints on this. You can see the sparks coming through the backside. And that is largely because there isn't a setting for this material thickness, and I just went to the next one up from it. And they're coming out really nice and definitely going to be strong since you do have that full penetration. But if I were to dial this back a little, I think they might be visually a little bit better than they are. And so you can get just really nice look. From a productivity perspective, I mean, you're 2 to 3 times the output compared with TIG, and I'd say you'd even be a bit higher than MIG with this, plus the learning curve is so much shorter to get started. So it's really a cool, impressive process, and it works in a lot of situations, but it's not going to be in every situation. And part of that is because just the ergonomics of that gun aren't going to fit in everywhere. But that backwards angle, the way that it runs, actually does let you access a lot of areas. And here I was able to make basically the same product, arguably a little bit better, definitely faster, and you can do it without
nearly the learning curves.
Let me throw out some final thoughts comparing these two setups, because obviously you can get into a CNC plasma table and a TIG welder for a lot less money than the MetalFab, and that's really the biggest drawback to the MetalFab. You've got to consider a few different things, and the two of them are productivity and the learning curve. So if you aren't experienced in TIG and MIG welding or CNC, you've got a pretty long road ahead to become proficient with that second tool set. And with the MetalFab, the software workflow is much more cohesive because all of the different parts are from the same place. The laser welding process is really quick and easy to learn, and so those types of things make it a perfect fit for someone with a little bit less experience. Now, on the productivity side, you'll also be faster because you save that post-processing on the laser weld or on the laser cuts, and the laser weld is just a lot faster, and you don't have to reposition, your parts don't get as hot. Things like that. So your productivity can go up a lot even if you are experienced. Now, does this mean I'm going to get rid of my TIG welder and plasma table? Absolutely not. There's some advantages there too. TIG welding is a little bit more versatile because you really have better control over the puddle than you do with a laser welder. So in certain situations where access is limited and a gun like this might not fit in, or where you're welding some odd specialty joint that wouldn't be conducive to laser welding, then a TIG is going to be a little bit better fit. On the plasma table side, the reason for hanging on to that is I can cut larger pieces and thicker pieces than I can with the laser. That being said, I think they're going to collect a lot more dust than they used to. So while the MetalFab is really expensive, I really do think it's a good value for what you get, and it'd be a great fit for universities, for prototyping shops, or for small businesses, or hobbyists if you want to get into things at that level. I think it definitely has its place in all of those settings. If you are interested in picking one up, be sure to check the description. I have a link there that does provide a small commission to help support what I do here on the channel. And I'll also put any current discount codes that I have down there in the description to help get you the best deal that you can. And if you have questions about this, be sure to let me know in the comments, or if you're seriously considering it, you can even shoot me an email and I'll help you out with that. And thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next time.